Hi, I'm Sarah and welcome to Perfectly Pilates UK YouTube channel. This video is about sciatica, also known as piriformis syndrome, and how to get immediate relief from sciatica and eradicate it from your life entirely by doing these exercises. I will note that sciatica can be caused by herniation or a disc problem. So if you have a bulging or a herniated disc in your lumbar spine and your lower spine, that can be one of the causes of sciatica, pushing on the nerve, the sciatic nerve, causing that pain. But sciatica can also be a sign of inactivity, kind of weakness and inactivity in the gluteal muscles in the buttocks. So sciatica isn't a diagnosis, it isn't a condition, it's a symptom. So it's a symptom of an underlying cause. So the cause can be weakness but also tightness. So tightness caused by inactivity, lack of movement in the hip and in the buttocks, which we're going to address today, but it can also be a symptom of a lower back disc problem. So it's always worth going to see your doctor, going to see your GP to get that checked out to see if that's the problem, especially if you do experience lower back pain. Some of the exercises today are really good for helping to relieve lower back pain as well and help to strengthen your back. So we will also be addressing the lower back pain, strengthening the lower back and addressing the pain as well. But as I say, it's worth visiting your GP just to get that checked out. Okay. So yeah, sciatica can be caused by a lot of sitting down. So if you have to sit down for work, or you just don't tend to have a very active lifestyle and be up and about, it can cause that pain, that tightness, and inactive muscle. So what I'll be taking you through today is a tennis ball to massage. So the first stage of helping with sciatica is to really massage into the area where you feel the pain. Okay, so sciatica is often felt, maybe you don't even know that you've got it until you watch this video, but it's often felt as a burning or pins and needles for some people, but quite an intense pain deep into the buttock, that really fleshy part deep in there, as a burning sensation, a really niggling pain, and sometimes it can radiate down the leg as well, all the way down that sciatic nerve, down the back and outside of the leg. And some people also feel it spreading up into the lower back, or more coming from the lower back if there's a disc problem. Okay, so the first thing to do is to try and massage the muscle around this area so that we can then stretch and get a more effective stretch. So whenever we warm and massage a muscle, we can then stretch it better, and there will be tightness in here. You will feel that, it will feel quite intense. The tennis ball is going to massage that area, it will feel quite intense, but at the same time, hopefully it feels like you know that it's doing you some good and it's what you really need as well. So after we've massaged, we're then going to stretch the muscles and kind of move and mobilize the hip and that area, and then we'll be strengthening those muscles as well. So it's, as I said, kind of caused by lack of movement, which also means weakness. So it makes sense, I guess, that if you kind of sit a lot and sit on your bum quite a lot through the day, that your bum isn't particularly strong or active. So strengthening the muscles around here will really help, as well as the lower back area. Okay, so equipment that you might need is a tennis ball or a foam roller. So some people have foam rollers at home to use to massage around the legs, the thighs. Some people do work on their back with a foam roller, so you can use the foam roller for the massage as well. A towel or a scarf or a band. So I've got an exercise or resistance band that I'm going to be using, but a towel or a scarf works just as well. And I have a cushion just for one of the exercises, just to rest your head down and be a little bit more comfortable. So you might need one or two cushions depending. For your posture, if you're kind of quite rounded in the shoulders and forward head, if you've got the forward head posture that a lot of us do in modern day living, of being at desks and computers and phones a lot, then you probably want a cushion or two just to put under your head and give your neck a little bit of relief for one or two of the stretches. Okay, so first things first, the massage, so the tennis ball. All of the exercises that I'm going to show you in this video, or all of the techniques I'm going to show you in this video, I'm going to do on one side of the body. So that will be the body, the side of your body that is in pain, that has the sciatica. My dog has come into the room. I have a husky and he's come into the room, and you might have just seen his tail in shot there, because he's just decided to lie down just out of camera shot, but let us know that he's here. At the minute he's been good and just having to lie down. Okay, so please excuse him. So I am going to work as though I have sciatica in the right side, my right side, so all of the exercise I'll be doing are on the right side. Obviously if you have the pain in your left side, please do the exercise on your left side. If you have this sensation in both sides, repeat for the other side. So start with the tennis ball, we're going to massage this area, so it's going under the buttock. Okay, so under my right buttock, I'm just going to lift my weight up onto my feet, my hands, and then press down, pressing down and massaging. Okay, and the area that I tend to say to concentrate on is to think about the bony, kind of this hip bone here, just the back of it, and your tailbone. And imagine a diagonal line down there and focus the massage around there. But you definitely want to go straight in for that most fleshy part first, and then we're just kind of going to work around that area. Okay, so sitting on the tennis ball, or spiky ball, or foam roller, you can use the foam roller for this one, having a massage. Alright, so the leg, again the side that I'm working, that leg is just, for now, is just stretched out a little bit. I'm taking most of the weight into the back of this heel, the left foot, my hands. So just try and lift up a little bit, just try and lift up so that you aren't putting too much pressure on your wrists, and massage around and see how that feels. It's kind of one of those things, it's a bit of a Marmite, love it or hate it sort of exercise. So some people love this straight off, some people hate it. But as I mentioned, hopefully you can kind of tell that it is doing good, and you do need this massage in that area. Okay, so massaging around, breathe as well. Nice deep breath in and out. And in and out. So I'm kind of just working my way along that diagonal line. As you exhale, the reason for focusing on the breath, as you exhale, your muscles can release and lengthen and stretch, and that is what we're trying to do. We're trying to get them to release and release the tension and tightness that you're feeling. When you find spots that make you really react and think, ooh, or ooh, yeah, got something right there, then press your weight down. For everyone, the reaction's different. Some people like it, some people hate it. So whenever you get a tender spot or reactive spot, press your weight down. My leg is already just kind of falling out and relaxing because I'm pressing on a spot that feels quite tender. But when you press your weight down into it, which you won't want to, you'll want to lift up, but as soon as you allow your weight to push down, you're pressing on the nerve, it relaxes the nerve, it allows the nerve to just switch off a little bit, which allows the muscles as well to relax. So my foot's just completely relaxed now. So I'm going to move on a little bit and move further up. Okay, so again, quite happily, or not, work your way up here as well, especially if you tend to get that sensation radiating up into the lower back. And have a good feel around, you'll start to get familiar with which parts you need to work. Okay, if this doesn't feel too intense for you, or say maybe you've done this for a few days and you're watching this video a few days in and following again, and that's not too intense anymore, then what you can do is lift that right leg, or the side that you're working, the side you need to work, bend it and rest your right ankle or shin on your left knee. So it looks like that. Okay. And you'll really feel the intensity pick up now. Okay. So continuing that massage, basically you're stretching your buttock. So when you lift your leg up and do that, we're stretching the buttock now. The piriformis, this is a piriformis stretch. We're stretching that area at the same time as massaging. And you're probably likely to feel much more intensity. So just right about this area here, around the glute medius, as well as right into the piriformis, I'm starting to really feel that's much more intense. So again, just press down, nice deep breaths all the way through, press your weight down. This is really deeply linked to your lower back as well as the hips. So you probably feel that in certain parts where you press down, you might feel kind of a tightness in your lower back as well, or up your lower back. And then it just starts to release. So it's really important if you have tight muscles in your lower back to let these muscles in the buttocks release, because it's all connected. Any tightness in here will pull your lower back. Okay, alright, so that's the massage. Muscles are nicely warmed up so we can stretch really well now. So again, I'm going to be stretching the right side. The bit that I've just shown you to do to get the intense stretch on the ball, we're now going to do as a stretch. Again, as I mentioned about the foam roller, just to show you how that would be, you can come up onto the foam roller and massage into that area. And again, kind of rolling around to the outside and through the buttock. And just, if you do have a foam roller and a tennis ball, try both and just see what works for you. Some people have kind of given me feedback that the foam roller for them is more intense. I guess it depends on the density of your foam roller and whether it's got some of those nodules on. For me, the tennis ball is much more intense, but I quite like to use a firm spiky ball as well to really get into there. Okay, so for the first stretch, this is called a figure 4 or piriformis stretch. So this is where I kind of recommend you use a cushion or two under your head if you need that, or if you have yoga blocks or Pilates blocks, you could use that. So I'm just going to use that with a cushion. Okay, so my recommendation for using that is especially if you tend to have a forward head posture and rounded shoulders, because lying in this position can cause quite a bit of discomfort. For this one, you might need your towel, scarf or band, resistance band. Okay, so we start with your feet on the floor, knees bent, and then lifting the side that has sciatica. So for me, I'm lifting that right side, taking hold of the back of the thigh to just pull it in a little bit and stretch the buttock, and breathe. Try and relax your shoulders as best you can so they're not up around here. Just relax and breathe. Easing the knee in a little bit, and then turn so that your knee turns out and you rest your ankle on your left knee. If that's not very comfortable in your hips, you can rest your shin, the middle of your shin or calf on the knee rather than the ankle. So it just brings the knee in a little bit or out, depending how your hips feel. Okay, but ideally rest your ankle on your knee. To start with, just gently take your right hand onto your right knee and push away. Again, if the side that has sciatica is your left side, you're going to have your left leg lifted and be using your left hand to push the knee away. Okay, but I'm working all on the right side today. So just pushing away, opening the hip, and also just stretching those fibres in the buttock there. And just breathe. So just try and relax. Try and relax your buttocks, relax your thighs. Just notice if your buttock muscles are gripping and switched on. Try and relax them. Breathe. You'll also feel a difference in the stretch if you can just take one hand underneath your lower back and have a little bit of space there for your fingers to go under. But make sure you can't get your arm all the way under. That's too much of an arch in your back. But if you can just kind of have a little bit of space for your fingertips, or I often say just imagine there's a little drawing pin under your lower back, and push the leg away. You may feel the difference between having a little bit of space under your lower back, this is called neutral, the neutral spine, compared to letting your kind of hips rock up a little bit and your lower back push down into the mat. If your lower back pushes down into the mat, you won't get quite as an effective stretch. So just have a little play with that position. So you kind of just tip your hips away very slightly. It's ½ an inch movement. Okay, so if that's feeling okay, or if you didn't really feel any stretching, the next step, and this is where you might need your towel, scarf or band, is to take the towel, scarf, band around your other leg. So I'm stretching the right side and taking the band around the left leg, okay? So So back into this position with my right ankle resting on my left leg. And then I'm going to use the band or the towel to help lift. So I need to lift my leg up so I can use the muscles in my abdominals. So I'm going to pull my abdominals tight, like I'm trying to pull my belly button down and towards my spine, towards the floor, and lift the leg. But the towel can really help to just hold that up. Now you should immediately feel the stretch in here. Immediately that's going to stretch in the buttock, the outside of the buttock, outside hip, into the piriformis. Okay. So again, this is why you want the strap and the cushions, is just so that you can do this comfortably. Okay. You can take hold of your thigh with your hands, so you can thread your hands through and hold that left thigh and come down. But for some people, especially if your posture is rounded, that's just way too uncomfortable. It is quite an intense stretch. If you want to try it, you can really pull your leg in and get a very big stretch through here. But you need to rest your head back down, so don't be like this for the stretch. That's just going to cause too much tension in your neck. I always want you to rest your head down for this one and focus on stretching here and everything else in your body relaxing. So you can do that if that's okay. If that's not comfortable, then you're using the towel or strap. Okay, and just to show you how that looks, it's like that. And breathing. Okay, and hold the stretch for about 30 seconds, and then you can take your feet back down to the floor, take a breath, and then again hold it for another 30 seconds. All right, and that's going to stretch out. That should give you immediate relief. Actually, the massage and that stretch should have hopefully given you immediate relief. Okay, so then you can just rest your band down. And in that same position, just bring both knees in towards your chest and have a gentle rock side to side. Okay, so the massage that you've done with your ball or your foam roller, the stretch we've just done, and this rocking, pulling your knees in, stretching your buttocks and rocking should give you immediate relief. The rocking as well really helps to relax the muscles. It's a bit of a massage for your lower back and helps to relax the lower back muscles, which are important. So then we're going to come round onto all fours. Don't need this equipment right now. Okay, so on all fours, we're going to do hip circles. So hands under shoulders, knees under hips. Just make sure you've got a gap between your knees and your knees aren't together. You want about a hip distance gap between your knees. And you will circle. So again, I'm working into the right side, the side that's actually away from the camera, but I'll show you both sides. So I'm pushing my hips to the right, circling, pushing out and down towards my right heel, and then across the heels over to the left and back up again. Okay, so if your sciatica is on the left side, I'm going to show you how that looks the other side. Push your hips off to the left, so you kind of roll onto the outside of that left knee. Push your hips, we're going to go out and down towards the left heel, across towards the right heel, and back up to center. So imagine your hips are kind of drawing a big circle on the mat. Okay, so right side, pushing to the right, circling all the way back and round. And you'll really feel that. You can go in both directions anyway. You can maybe do 5 in one direction and then switch and do 5 in the other direction, because it is a really nice stretch to release everything across the whole of the lower back as well, and you'll feel it stretching deep into the buttock, and it does help to mobilize. So this is now mobilizing. Okay, as you're doing that, we're mobilizing the joint and opening up the joint around this whole area, and it helps to relieve tightness. So again, do 5 in one direction, and then do 5 going around the other direction. That should feel really nice. Okay, and then from there, this exercise is really good. So those are the stretches are done. We're now going to go into strengthening mode, okay? So the strengthening will make a real difference to any backache that you've got as well, and eradicating your sciatica forever. Okay, so this is the position for the next exercise, which is excellent for strengthening your back and creating extension through the spine. So extension being lengthening the spine, avoiding any forward flexion or rounding, and really working to work all of the muscles down the back. So slightly working into the neck, the muscles around the back of the shoulders, and definitely down here that support your spine. Okay, so a lot of backache and sciatica as well, but certainly a lot of backache is caused by a weakening of these muscles here. So this is going to be fantastic for any kind of general undiagnosed non-specific back pain as well. But one point of note is not to lift too high. So I'll show the exercise, but don't try and overlift. Please don't try and really lift really high and look forward and arch your neck or anything like that. Not too much in the neck. And if it causes pain in your lower back, a sharp pain, then please, the first thing I want you to do is lower yourself down and just not lift as high, and engage the core muscles, which we'll be doing in this position. We'll be pulling the abdominal muscles in and up away from the floor towards your spine. We'll be working the pelvic floor, so the sensation of squeezing as though you're trying to stop the flow of water, and that should all help. But if you still feel that you're getting a sharp sensation, a sharp pain or a nerve pain in your lower back, then you must stop this exercise and consult with your doctor. Okay, so never work through pain. It's not a case of no pain, no gain when it comes to these exercises, especially if it's joint pain. So if it's a sharp shooting pain in the back, please stop, don't continue with the exercise, okay? If it feels like a bit of a dull ache around your lower back, around this area, that's more likely to be muscular, and that's a case if you can feel these muscles are doing work. So expect to feel some muscular tension across the lower back, but as I say, if it's a sharp shooting pain, that's bad pain. There is a difference and you need to stop immediately. If anything gets worse as you progress and do these exercises every day, if anything gets worse rather than better, again, stop them and consult with your GP. Okay, so this is all about creating back extension, strengthening the back and really lengthening. So we want to keep the spine nice and long. So the whole time you're doing this, imagine you've got a string in the crown of your head and it's pulling you nice and long, and also a piece of string attached to your tailbone pulling you long that way. And that will really give you some length and open up some space in between the vertebrae, the discs that might be quite compressed. Okay, so to start this exercise, elbows, so you're propped up on your elbows, elbows are bent just out about shoulder height or slightly higher, and I encourage you to just play about with where the arms should be as to what feels more comfortable for you. Rest your head down on a block or a pillow. Okay, so you can just rest your head down. And your feet are you either just have the tops of your feet quite relaxed down on the floor, or if you can, take your feet out just wider than your hips and try and turn the insides of your feet out, or your toes out. So your thigh, you kind of try and turn the thigh out a little bit, as though you're trying to get the inside of your kneecaps on each leg and the inside of your feet rested on the floor, just to help to open. You'll feel that kind of open the front of the hips, and it'll activate the outside of the buttocks, the glute medius, which is also really important as well. If that's not comfortable, again, just bring your feet a little bit closer together and rest the top of your feet and the top of your knees down on the floor instead. The exercise is still really effective. So resting your head down and let's start. So pull your shoulders down from your ears as though you're just trying to have a nice long neck, and you'll feel that immediately just around the shoulder blades, which is really good, working those muscles, really good for posture. Then I want you to take a breath and imagine there's an ice cube under your belly button, and you're trying to lift your belly button away from the floor and towards your spine. So that's engaging the core, and if you can, squeeze as though you're trying to stop the flow of water, or zipping up from your pubic bone towards your belly button. When you breathe out, or when you next breathe out, lift your head, lift your chest, and you've got your forearms and hands pressing down into the floor. And then belly button staying pulled up towards your spine or pulled in, breathe in and rest your head back down. Okay, so don't worry too much about the breath, but please just keep taking breaths and don't hold your breath. That will cause your blood pressure to increase. So again, draw your shoulders down from your ears down towards your bottom. Taking a breath, pull your belly button up from your ice cube and lift. So you compress your forearms into the floor and lift. And don't go too high because I just want you to see how that is feeling in your lower back. Okay, so you should be able to feel around here some tightness, and that's just those muscles activating, your lower back muscles activating. So as long as it's not a sharp shooting pain and it's bearable, continue. Taking a breath, belly button back, waist pulling in, squeeze to stop water. Ideally breathe out, lift, but just make sure you're breathing and you're not holding your breath, and lowering down. And lift. Okay, if it's feeling okay, just hold it a little bit longer. Please make sure you don't look forward. Do not look forward, certainly don't look up. That's just too much of a compression on the vertebrae in your neck. So you're just kind of looking at a diagonal down and forward glance. You can imagine you've got an orange tucked under your chin and you're just trying to squeeze the orange between your chin and chest. And then lowering down. Let's do that again. Shoulders back. Take a breath. Belly button back. My toes are pointed out now, turned out. Exhale, lift. Keep pulling your belly button back, squeezing to stop water. And holding for a little bit longer. Think about your pubic bone, the very tip of your pubic bone. You're trying to just push it down into the mat or the floor, just so you're just trying to push down. Tailbone and pubic bone pointing down, belly button lifting. And again, imagine you're being pulled by a thread in the crown of your head, so you're looking down and you're trying to lengthen your neck. Or as though someone's kind of got hold of you here and they're trying to pull and lengthen your neck and spine. And then lower down. Taking a breath. Belly button back every time. Exhale. So every time you're pulling the belly button away from the ice cube, you're engaging your core. So we're strengthening our core muscles, which is really important for a strong back. Good. So the longer you can hold this, the more strength you're building into your lower back. So keep pulling your belly button back, waist in. Don't just let everything be in the arms you're trying to lift. So also imagine there's a candle under your chest. You're trying to lift up from that candle. And the ice cube's under your belly button. Lower down. Take a breath. Belly button back. I'm trying to lift my tummy from the floor, slightly press my pubic bone down into the floor and lift. Okay, now if it's feeling okay, you can press your hands into the floor and lift your elbows. You can lift your elbows and forearms to lift a little bit higher, getting more of an extension through your back, stretching the front of your hips and abdominals, shoulders back and down. But again, if that hurts in your back, if that shooting pain really starts to cause discomfort or twinging, then lower down. So lower down, maybe slide your hands away, keep your core engaged, belly button back, and lower down to a level that feels much better. Feels like that's working your back but not hurting it. Okay. If this is still painful, then you're going to rest down. Okay. If it's okay, you're lifting and lowering down. Let's do another. Take a breath, belly button back, squeeze to stop water. Lift your tummy from the ice cube so you can lift into the elbows and then lift. And this is why I encourage you to have a play with the position. You might want to bring your hands further down towards your body and maybe lift a little bit higher, but don't do that if you haven't got the flexibility in your back yet. You just slide the hands away, or you just lower down a little bit and roll down. Okay, so that's the back extension exercise. Excellent for working the core, really, really good for building strength into your back and also flexibility. Excellent for posture. Build that one up, so maybe start with doing 6 of those, again at whichever level height felt okay, felt like challenging but not unsafe, and then build it up over time, so maybe going from 4, 6, try for 6 if you can, but if 4's enough, then 4's enough, and then build it up to 8 to 10, and then as I demonstrated there, just holding it a little bit longer, taking some more breaths, belly button back the whole time, holding it longer. And maybe aiming to build up to hold about 20 seconds each time, and then you can just do lift and lowers, lift and lowers. Okay, but then you will definitely find an improvement in the strength of your back reduced back pain and as excellent for getting rid of sciatica. Okay, so the other thing that's happening is we're strengthening these muscles here as well, which has been a bit of a theme through doing this video. Okay. Alright, for this next exercise we're going to work the muscles in the glute medius, the outside part of your buttocks, outside part of the glute. Okay, which is actually really good for stable, strong hips as well. So we're going to be on our side, lying down with your knees bent. So you can bend your elbow and just rest your head down on the crook of your arm. But if you've got problems in your shoulder and that's quite uncomfortable for you, then take your arm out in front and use your cushion or perhaps your yoga block just under your head, okay, if that's more comfortable for you. Just make sure your neck is supported so you don't have your head dropping off the end of your spine. That'll be quite uncomfortable in the neck. Okay, so please make sure that your heels, have a little look, make sure your heels line up with your hips line up with your shoulders. That keeps your back in a nice straight line to work from, in neutral. Make sure your feet aren't behind your body. So if your feet are behind your hips, that's going to excessively curve your lower back, and as we do the exercise, that can really start to cause some discomfort and compression in your lower back, which we always want to avoid. So heels line up with the hips. Nice straight line. The next thing to think about is just to imagine there's a little mouse under your waist, or a mouse trying to get underneath there, and just try and lift up. So even if you don't like mice, please try not to squash him. It's just the sensation of lifting up that helps to straighten your spine and gets rid of kind of the dip here. Straighten your spine, it keeps your hips and pelvis in alignment as well, and that will really isolate the outer part of your buttock, which is the bit that we really want to work to strengthen and get rid of that pain for you. So just rest your hand on top of your hip or your thigh, shoulder relaxed, lift your waist from your mouse. To help you with that, pull your belly button in towards your spine, so we're engaging our core muscles again. Take a breath in and then exhale. Open your knee but keep the insides of your feet together. And then inhale down. Exhale, open, belly button back, waist lifting. Inhale down, exhale open. So we're working this outer part of your buttock, lift and down and breathing. Okay, if you want to make it a little bit harder, imagine someone is pushing down on your thigh, a heavy weight, a person pushing down on your thigh as you push open. So just imagine that, and it will work that muscle even harder. So just the resistance you build with your imagination can make your muscle work harder to really target that area. But you might not need to do that. It might be quite enough. Okay, so things to be aware of. Make sure that as you open up the knee that you're not rolling back. So you want to kind of just stay on the outside part of your underneath thigh and your hip, outside edge of your hip, underneath, and try not to roll back, okay? So if you're opening up but rolling back, then you're not really working this muscle here at all. We're just rocking in the hips and it's not really going to be effective. Okay, so you might like to imagine that your back is against a wall, and as you open out, you can't roll back because you've got a wall there. Either imagine that or actually do the exercise with your back against a wall, your feet on the wall, so that as you open out, you can't roll back, and that will definitely target the outside part of your buttock. Breathing out, open. Breathe in to close. Keep your waist lifted, hips stacked. Okay. Also, as you come down, don't drop the leg down, you're closing it down. So we're keeping the muscle in the outside here active the whole time. And you should be feeling that by now. Okay. So maybe start with 8 of those. If you don't really feel anything after 8, then just keep going. But if perhaps you're really starting to feel it just after 4 or 5, that's fine. Just try and do some more. Breathe as well. The breath's really important because it just helps you continue through the exercise. So maybe try and do 8. And then the more that you do it, add on a couple more. And a couple more and a couple more. Maybe build up to about 20 of those. And as I said, you can build the intensity by imagining somebody's pressing down as you open out. That will really strengthen in here, and it's excellent for healthy, stable hips as well. I'd recommend doing that on both sides actually, just because you don't want to have an overly strong glute medius on one side and not the other, because then that'll cause a different type of imbalance and you could start getting other problems in your hips and lower back. So do that exercise on both sides. So please repeat, just take this video back a few minutes and repeat the exercise on your other side as well. The side that you're having the sciatica trouble, just do a few more. So if you've done 8 on that side, maybe do 6 on the other side, and as you build up more on the sciatica side. Okay, so the next exercise and the last exercise actually is similar, sort of strengthening that same muscle as well. You can do this exercise on all fours with hands under shoulders. If you don't like to do any weight bearing on your wrists, if you've got problems there, then you can come down onto your elbows and do this one. Elbows under shoulders, hands palms together or hands interlocked is just as effective. Have your knees under your hips and make sure there's a nice gap between your knees. So you don't want your knees together, you'll end up just rocking and not making the exercise effective. So knees under hip bones, a nice gap between your knees. Okay, or maybe up on all fours. So the exercise is to open out, lift the knee. So you're bringing the knee out. Okay, so to show you how that looks from the back, on all fours, you've got a good gap between your knees and you bring the knee out and bring it back in. You lift it up and out and bring it back in. Try and keep the back of your hips nice and still. Imagine you've got a tray of drinks on the back of your hips and you open and then pull it back in. So try not to do this, okay? So again, so the way I'm showing you now, I'm actually working the left side. If the sciatica is on your left side, you're going to be lifting your left leg. So make sure that you don't rock and roll to the outside. You don't want to roll to the outside of that right knee. If you're working your right side, if the sciatica is on the right side, you're lifting that leg. So try and keep your hip bone on the left side, on the inactive side, directly over the knee as you lift. So you really have to, again, work the muscle. So I'm working right side, work the muscle in the outside of your right buttock to lift. Okay, so I'll continue to show you that from the side. So you squeeze out, pull in. Just make sure you're not tipping off. So a lot of people will do this and kind of tip off and roll on the leg that's underneath them. Again, that's not activating the muscle. So stay really steady, belly button back, squeeze open. Imagining you've got a tray of drinks on the back of your hips. So as you bring your right leg out, you don't want your tray of drinks to spill off the left hip. If you've got sciatica in the left side, you'll be doing this action with the left leg instead. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. So this one often gets called fire hydrants because it's like a dog cocking its leg on a fire hydrant. Squeeze and breathe. Again, you can be doing it down on your elbows just as effectively. Breathe. You can take a look underneath to make sure your hip bones are nice and level and that you're not tipping off to one side. And then rest. Again, that's one that I would say build up over time, but really try and go for it. So try and do 10 of those and then build up 12, 14, up to 20. If you can. If 10 is too much, start at 6. That's fine. If you ever want to make this one harder and you have one of these looped resistance bands, you can add that in. Okay, so that you then take the band around your thighs. This one's quite a heavy band. And then with the band around the thighs, you'd come onto all fours and you do exactly the same exercise, but you've got the resistance of the band pulling against you. So it doesn't take many of those to really feel that muscle here doing the work. Okay. Alright, so that's it. Those are the 3 approaches to take in that order. So massaging into the piriformis, into the buttock to start with, to warm it up, and then do the stretches and the mobilization, followed by those strengthening exercises to activate the buttock muscles and the lower back. Please do this video every day. and you'll find improvement. As I say, hopefully from doing it just this one time, you can feel that it's working and you've got immediate relief, but doing those exercises every day will really eradicate sciatica. Another tip that I would give you is that if you tend to sleep on your side, then put a pillow in between your thighs. Because again, sleeping on your side, especially if you bend your knees, especially if you kind of bring your knees up towards your chest, it overstretches, over-lengthens the buttock muscle. Sciatica, as I said, can be caused by weakness in the muscle and definitely overstretching as well. So stretching, as with anything else, should be in balance. So we should be stretching, lengthening and strengthening the muscles in balance. So if you just stretch, you're more likely to have sciatica as well. So if you sleep on your side and you suffer with sciatica, or you're starting to get pain in your hip and in your buttock, then I highly recommend that you put a pillow or a cushion between your knees when you go to bed, because it realigns, so it's going to align your knees with your hip, and again take the pain out of the buttock immediately. So that's a good one to do. So if you like what you saw today, then please subscribe to my channel to get more great videos. Thank you.